Have you been victimized by fake news, hate speech and racism in social media? Whether or not we are the proprietors of this negative content, or simply readers at home, all these create conflict, misunderstanding and misinformation. Nowadays, big social media sites like Facebook, YouTube and Twitter have been undergoing this so-called content moderation. According to the outsourcing glossary, this is the practice of monitoring and applying a predetermined set of rules and guidelines to user-generated submission to determine best if it is permissible or not. However, along with the benefits gained from this, which include reduced hate speech and fake news and increased social media positivity, are increased compensation costs and operating costs to the company. Moreover, the problem of the content moderators becoming ministries of truth deciding which should and should not be shown to the public presents ethical concerns of having them dictate the universal truth considering the number of social media users. Alongside these concerns, are key problems formulated to better represent the problem. First, does taking down hate speech and misinformation posted in their platform has a negative impact to social media companies since they are spending huge amount just to solve this issue? Second, is their strategy of using artificial intelligence really effective in reducing the widespread of disturbing content on their platform? And third, what are the negative effects of hate speech or misinformation to those who use their platform? Google, Facebook and Twitter vowed to fight fake news, hate speech and abuse in their own ways. Law professor Goldbeck noted that Twitter undergoes suspensions of accounts as well as contracts with its users dictating their terms of engagement, which now includes banning hate speech from its platform. On the other hand, Facebook started using artificial intelligence to solve the issue of content moderation but went back to employing workers after seeing that the said solution is unable to make nuanced judgments which is required in determining whether a content is hate speech or not. Unfortunately, psychologist Victor Sorrell once said that being frequently exposed to hateful online commentaries makes people increasingly desensitized to them. In addition, the contents of these commentaries shapes the perceptions of minorities, immigrant groups, and political adversaries which, overall, is not a favorable situation. That being said, there are three possible alternatives to help solve this situation. First is imposing a duty of care on the largest social media companies backed up by a regulator. According to the Calling English Dictionary, duty of care is the legal obligation of businesses to safeguard others from harm while they are in your care, using your services, or exposed to your activities. The first benefit of this alternative is that it looks at the desired outcome and its long-term applicability rather than the consistent regulation process. The second benefit is that it can guide these platforms on where to focus their attention, preventing harm that can become a criminal offense. And the third benefit is that it can limit unforeseen developments and address the prevention of harms beforehand through the required qualifying of social media service providers. Moreover, this alternative also has disadvantages. First is that it could ultimately suppress freedom of speech and actually rid the large social media platforms of their selling points and brand positioning. Second is that it could ignite injustice among social media service providers, causing startup companies to undergo the same policy and incur loss. And last is that the godlike role of choosing which information should be shown in social media is passed on to the hands of the government, which could also prove to be a problem in itself. The second alternative, which is done by most websites right now, is social media content moderation. This alternative calls for a number of members or employees, depending on the scale of the platform, to undergo pre- and post-moderation. Some advantages of this alternative include censorship and removal of hate speech and offensive materials, controlled circulation and limitation of the spread of fake news, and the user's freedom to report and suggest which materials are up for removal. On the other hand, its disadvantages include high resource and labor costs, social media platforms being free from any liability, and moderating employees slowly becoming ministries of truth. The last alternative is a fully automated content moderation, where it will be utilizing a fully automated real-time moderation tool or artificial intelligence to protect the online community from abusive user-generated content. This alternative also has its pros. First is that this process will save up to 99% of the labor that goes now into manual moderation. Second is that it employs a real-time feature, getting rid of long wait for content approval. And last is that it is always up to date as the world continues modernizing. Basically, it adds convenience and lessens the cost of manual moderations. Like the other alternatives, this strategy also has its set of disadvantages. First, the elimination of work for individuals positioned as a human moderator. Second, the algorithms not being able to detect the subtleties of language or the ambiguity of semantic nuances. Third, the system's lack of precision in detecting permissible content. And last, the decreased quality of moderation due to it having one less moderation phase. Finally, among the said alternatives, the most favorable one is to impose duty of care on big social media websites backed up by a regulator. The solution is able to prove its long-term applicability as exemplified in the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974 in UK, which is still ongoing today. Also, although the broad definition of harm may suppress freedom of speech, regulators would be in place to fact-check all contents. Lastly is that despite being originally a disadvantage, having disparities between large and small social media companies could actually limit the steadily increasing power the latter platforms have. To help support this solution, there are also some tools/techniques. First, the development of a statement of risks of harm, prominently displayed to all users when the regime is introduced and thereafter to new users. Second, is an internal review system for risk assessment of new services prior to their deployment. Third is the provision of a child protection and parental control approach, including age verification. And last is development in conjunction with the regulator and civil society, as this set of solutions is being debated on. We, the social media users and content makers, must also be responsible on whatever we post online. We should contribute to the betterment of the platforms and not to its destruction. Let us all take a small action in making reality a peaceful and a healthy environment. Let us only post positive things in social media and respect our differences as a person.